So my fiancé chose his pregnant ex-girlfriend over me at our engagement party. In front of my parents, his parents, my brothers, my grandmother, 75 guests total. He cried and said he still loved her. Then he left with her. That was 11 days ago and I still haven't slept a full night since. I need to get this out because I feel like I'm losing my mind and everyone in my life keeps telling me different things and I don't know what to think anymore. My mom says I need to process. My best friend says I need to rage. My therapist says I need to feel whatever I feel. I just need someone who doesn't know me to tell me if I'm crazy for still wanting answers. His name is Emmett. We met 3 years ago at a friend's birthday party in Minneapolis. I'm originally from a small town about 2 hours north of here, but moved to the city after college. Emmett grew up in the suburbs, went to school in Wisconsin, came back after graduation. He worked at the same company as my friend Lauren's boyfriend, which is how we ended up at the same party. I wasn't even supposed to go that night. Lauren had been begging me for weeks because she wanted me to meet this guy from her boyfriend's office, some accountant type she thought would be perfect for me. I kept saying no because I had just gotten out of a situationship that left me feeling pretty raw, and the last thing I wanted was to be set up with anyone. But Lauren is Lauren, and she doesn't take no for an answer. So I put on a dress and showed up, and the accountant turned out to be boring as cardboard. I spent most of the night by the snack table avoiding him. That's where I met Emmett. He came over to grab some of those little pigs in blankets, and we started talking about how awkward birthday parties are when you only know like 2 people there. He was funny, self-deprecating in a way that felt genuine, not performative. We ended up on the balcony for 3 hours just talking about everything and nothing. When the party ended, he asked for my number and I gave it to him without hesitating. Our first date was a week later. Then another date. Then another. Within 2 months, we were basically inseparable. He met my parents by month 4. I met his by month 5. Everything just clicked in a way I had never experienced before. My mom loved him. My dad loved him. My brothers thought he was solid. His family welcomed me like I was already one of them. I knew about Ivy. That was his ex. They had dated for almost 4 years before they broke up. Emmett told me the relationship ended because they wanted different things. She wasn't ready to settle down, didn't want to get married anytime soon, wanted to focus on her career. He wanted a family, a house, the whole traditional thing. They tried to make it work, but eventually realized they were just on different paths. That story made sense to me. I never questioned it because why would I? He seemed genuinely over her, never talked about her obsessively, never compared me to her, never gave me any reason to think she was still in the picture. The few times her name came up, it was always in past tense. Always with this kind of resigned sadness, like he had accepted it was over and moved on. We got engaged 10 months ago. He proposed on the anniversary of our first date, which I thought was incredibly romantic. He took me to this restaurant where we had one of our early dates and got down on one knee right there between the appetizers and the main course. I said yes, obviously. I was so happy I cried. Called my mom from the bathroom because I couldn't wait to tell her. The engagement party was supposed to be this beautiful celebration. My parents hosted it at their house since they have the space and my mom lives for this kind of thing. She spent weeks planning every detail. The food, the decorations, the guest list. She was so excited to show Emmett's family that we knew how to throw a proper party. Both families flew in. Emmett's parents came from Arizona where they retired a few years ago. His sister came from Denver with her husband and their kids. My grandmother drove up from Iowa. Everyone was there to celebrate us. The party started at 6 on a Saturday. Beautiful, late September weather. My mom had set up the backyard with string lights and rented these gorgeous farm tables. There was a live band, a full bar, catering from this Italian place my dad loves. 75 people all there for me and Emmett. Around 8:30, everything fell apart. I was talking to my cousin near the dessert table when I noticed people looking toward the side gate. There was some kind of commotion, and I assumed someone had arrived late or maybe had too much to drink. Then I heard Lauren say my name in this weird, urgent way, and when I turned around, I saw her. Ivy. I knew it was her immediately, even though I had only seen a few photos. Emmett kept some old pictures on his phone, and I had stumbled across them once while looking for a photo of us. I didn't snoop or anything. They just came up when I was scrolling. She was pretty in that effortless way that makes other women feel inadequate. Long dark hair, perfect skin, the kind of body that looks good in everything. She was standing just inside the gate, wearing this fitted dress that showed off what was very clearly a pregnant belly. She looked like she was maybe 4 or 5 months along. Not huge, but definitely obvious. I remember thinking this has to be some kind of joke. Like maybe she was a friend of someone's and just happened to have the same name as Emmett's ex. Or maybe I was confusing her with someone else, because why would his ex-girlfriend show up at our engagement party pregnant? Then she opened her mouth. She said she was sorry to interrupt, but there was something everyone needed to know. Her voice was loud enough that the people nearby stopped talking and turned to look. She said she and Emmett had been seeing each other for the past year, that the baby she was carrying was his, that he had been planning to leave me as soon as she said she was ready to be with him for real. I stood there frozen. I literally could not move or speak. It was like my brain just shut down and refused to process what was happening. I kept waiting for Emmett to appear and tell her she was insane, to deny everything, to make this make sense. He appeared all right. He came pushing through the crowd with this look on his face like he had seen a ghost. Pure panic. He went straight to her and grabbed her arm and was saying something I couldn't hear, and she pulled away from him and said loudly that no, she was done hiding. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out these papers. Ultrasound photos. She held them up and I could see even from where I was standing that they had his name on them. Emmett's name, listed as the father. She said she had text messages, hundreds of them, where he talked about their future together, where he said he loved her, where he said he was only staying with me until she was ready. My mom was standing next to me by then. She had grabbed my arm like she was trying to hold me up. My dad was across the yard and I could see him moving toward us with my brothers right behind him. Everyone was watching. 75 people staring at this woman destroy my entire life. Ivy looked right at Emmett and asked him what it was going to be. She said she was ready now. Ready for marriage, ready for the family he always wanted. She was giving him what he had been asking her for since the day they broke up. So what was his choice? I waited for him to tell her to leave, to tell her she was lying, to look at me and tell me this was all some horrible misunderstanding. Instead, he started crying. He said he was sorry, that he had made a mistake, that he never meant for it to happen this way. He said he still loved her, that he had never stopped loving her, that their relationship had never really ended. They had just taken a break while she figured out what she wanted. A break. He said our entire relationship was him waiting for her. 3 years. The dates, the holidays, meeting my family, the proposal. All of it was just him killing time until Ivy decided she was ready. My dad lunged at him. Actually lunged. My brothers Gabriel and Ryden had to physically hold him back. My dad was yelling things I had never heard him say before. My mom was crying. My grandmother was sitting in a chair looking like she might pass out. Emmett's parents were standing there in shock, not saying anything. And Emmett just stood there crying, saying sorry over and over, while Ivy stood next to him with her hand on her pregnant belly looking almost triumphant, like she had won something. He left with her. He actually left with her. Got in her car and drove away from our engagement party, from my family's house, from the life we were supposed to build together. Didn't look back once. The party ended, obviously. My mom tried to salvage things, tried to thank people for coming and assure everyone I would be okay. But there was nothing to salvage. Everyone had seen. Everyone knew. The most humiliating moment of my life had played out in front of every single person who mattered to me. Lauren drove me home that night. I don't remember much about the drive. I just remember sitting in my apartment afterwards, staring at the wall and feeling like none of it was real. Like I would wake up any minute and it would all be a nightmare. It wasn't a nightmare though. It was real. The next few days were chaos. My phone blew up with messages from everyone who had been at the party. Emmett's sister texted me this long apology saying she had no idea and she was so sorry and she was cutting him out of her life. His mom left me a voicemail crying. My friends started a rotation to make sure someone was with me at all times because they were worried about me being alone. Emmett tried to contact me. He called maybe 30 times that first night. Left voicemails saying he was sorry and he needed to explain and it wasn't what it looked like. I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. What was there to say? He had said everything that mattered in front of 75 witnesses. But here's the thing. And this is why I'm posting because I feel like I'm going insane. He showed up at my apartment 4 days after the party. Just knocked on my door like nothing had happened. I almost didn't open it, but I could see him through the peephole and something in me needed to hear whatever pathetic excuse he was going to offer. He said Ivy had manipulated him, that she had known exactly what to say to get him to react that way at the party, that he had been caught off guard and panicked and said things he didn't mean. He said the baby might not even be his, that she had refused to do a paternity test, that she was using the pregnancy to trap him. I asked him if he had been sleeping with her. He said yes, but it was complicated. I asked him if he had told her he loved her. He said yes, but he didn't mean it the way it sounded. I asked him if our entire relationship was really just him waiting for her. He couldn't answer that one. He stood there in my doorway looking at the floor and couldn't answer, which was an answer in itself. I told him to leave. He didn't want to. He kept saying he had made a mistake and he could fix it, and if I just gave him a chance to explain everything he knew, we could work through this. I said there was nothing to work through. He chose her, in front of everyone. The conversation was over. I closed the door in his face. That was a week ago. He's texted me every single day since. Long messages about how he's not with Ivy anymore, how he realized she was toxic, how the baby changes nothing about how he feels about me. His mom has called me twice asking me to please just talk to him, to let him explain, saying she knows her son and he's not a bad person, he just made a terrible choice. Yesterday, his sister Amanda called me. She said Emmett had been staying with her since the party because he has nowhere else to go. She said Ivy had apparently been telling everyone that Emmett came crawling back to her the night of the party and they were together now, but according to Emmett, that's not true. He went to her place to confront her about what she did, and they got in a huge fight and he left. Amanda said he's been a mess, not eating, not sleeping, just sitting in her guest room staring at the wall. I don't know why she told me that. Maybe she thought it would make me feel bad for him. It didn't. But it did make me start thinking about things I probably shouldn't be thinking about. Like what actually happened between them. Like whether Ivy really did manipulate the situation, or whether Emmett is just saying that now because he realized he threw away his entire life for someone who was never going to give him what he wanted. Like whether any of what we had was real, or if I was just a placeholder from the very beginning. My friend Lauren thinks Ivy planned the whole thing months in advance. She thinks Ivy got pregnant on purpose knowing it would force Emmett's hand. She thinks Ivy was always going to show up at some important event and blow everything up, because that's the kind of person she is. Either way, he still slept with her. He still told her he loved her. He still stood in front of my family and said he had never stopped loving her. Those things happened regardless of who planned what. The wedding was supposed to be in April. We had already put deposits down on a venue. I was supposed to go dress shopping with my mom and Lauren next month. We had started looking at houses in the suburbs. I had this whole future planned out and now it's just gone. And the worst part is I don't even know what I'm grieving. Am I grieving the relationship? Am I grieving the future we were supposed to have? Am I grieving the person I thought he was, who apparently never existed? How do you mourn something that might have been a lie from the beginning? If you made it this far, thank you for reading. I don't know what I'm looking for exactly. Advice, maybe. Right now, I'm just taking it day by day and trying not to fall apart completely. Update, 1 week later. I did not expect my last post to get the attention it did. Thank you to everyone who commented and sent messages. I read every single one, even if I didn't respond to all of them. A lot has happened since I posted, and I need to get it out because I feel like I'm about to explode. First, some context that I should have included before. After the engagement party disaster, I blocked Emmett on everything. Phone, social media, email, all of it. I couldn't handle seeing his name pop up every 5 minutes with another excuse or apology. My mental health was deteriorating and I needed him out of my space completely. But blocking him didn't stop his family from reaching out. His mom, Wilma, has been calling my mom almost daily. His sister, Amanda, kept texting me until I blocked her too. Even his dad, who I have spoken to maybe 10 times in 3 years, sent me this long message about how families go through hard times and forgiveness is important. I ignored all of it. Or tried to. Then 5 days ago, something happened that made ignoring everything impossible. I was at my parents' house for dinner. My mom had been insisting I come over more often because she didn't want me sitting alone in my apartment spiraling. So I drove out there on a Wednesday night for pot roast and what I thought would be a quiet evening. We were just finishing up when someone knocked on the front door. My dad went to answer it and I heard voices in the hallway. Then my dad saying something sharp that I couldn't make out, then footsteps coming toward the dining room. It was Wilma, Emmett's mom. She had driven up from where she was staying at Amanda's place specifically to talk to me. My dad was behind her looking furious, and my mom had already stood up from the table with this expression like she was ready for battle. Wilma started talking before anyone could stop her. She said she knew I was hurt and I had every right to be. She said what Emmett did was unforgivable, and she had told him so herself. But she said there were things I didn't know, things that might change how I saw the situation, and she was begging me to just listen for 5 minutes. My mom told her this wasn't appropriate, that showing up uninvited at their home was crossing a line, that if Wilma had something to say she could have called or written a letter like a normal person instead of ambushing us during family dinner. Wilma started crying. She said she knew she was out of line but she was desperate. She said Emmett had been lying to everyone including her for years, and she had only just found out the full truth. She said Ivy had been threatening Emmett, had been holding something over his head, and that's why he had been seeing her even after he and I got together. My dad told her to leave. Not asked. Told. He opened the front door and stood there waiting. But Wilma kept talking. She said Ivy had told Emmett she would ruin his life if he didn't stay with her, that she had something on him, some kind of information that could destroy his career and his relationships, and she had been using it to control him for years. She said Emmett was a victim too, even if it didn't look that way from the outside. I finally spoke. I asked her what information. What could Ivy possibly have that would give her that kind of power over him? Wilma said she didn't know the specifics, that Emmett wouldn't tell her, that he just kept saying it was complicated, and he had made mistakes, and Ivy knew things that could hurt people he cared about. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so pathetic. This was his defense. This was the big explanation his family had been building up to for over a week, that he was being blackmailed by his ex-girlfriend into sleeping with her and telling her he loved her, and planning a future with her. As if he had no agency in any of it. As if he was just this helpless puppet being controlled by an evil mastermind. I told Wilma I was sorry she had driven all this way, but there was nothing she could say that would change what happened. Her son made choices. He chose to cheat. He chose to lie. He chose to humiliate me in front of everyone I loved. Whatever Ivy may or may not have on him doesn't erase any of that. He's a grown man. He could have told me the truth at any point in the last 3 years. He didn't. Wilma kept trying to argue. She said I didn't understand the pressure he was under. She said if I would just talk to him, just let him explain in his own words, maybe I would see things differently. My mom stepped in then. She told Wilma that her son had destroyed her daughter in front of their entire family, and if she thought anyone in this house was interested in making excuses for him, she had severely misjudged the situation. Then she walked Wilma to the door and closed it behind her. I went home that night and couldn't sleep. Not because I believed anything Wilma said, but because it raised questions I couldn't ignore. What did Ivy have on Emmett? Why was his family suddenly so invested in making sure I understood he was a victim? What was I missing? The next morning I did something I probably shouldn't have. I unblocked Emmett and sent him one message. I told him I wanted to meet. Just once. I said I wasn't interested in getting back together or hearing more apologies. I just wanted answers. Real ones. I said if he couldn't give me that, then we had nothing to talk about. He responded within minutes. He said yes, absolutely, he would meet whenever and wherever I wanted. He thanked me for giving him a chance. He promised he would tell me everything. We met at a park near my apartment 2 days ago. A public place so I would feel safe. I brought Lauren with me and made her wait in her car nearby in case things went badly. He started talking almost immediately. He said he had been trying to figure out how to tell me the truth for months, but he kept chickening out. He said things with Ivy were more complicated than he had ever admitted, and he knew that if I found out the real story, I would hate him. But since I already hated him now, what did he have to lose? He told me that when he and Ivy broke up 4 years ago, it wasn't because she didn't want to settle down. That was a lie. They broke up because she caught him doing something. He wouldn't tell me what exactly. He just said it was something he was deeply ashamed of. Something that happened during a dark period in his life. Something he had worked hard to move past. Ivy had evidence. Photos or messages or something. She had kept it all this time, and when they broke up, she told him she would use it if he ever tried to move on with someone else. He said he thought she was bluffing at first. He tried to date other people, and every time he did, she would reach out with reminders of what she had. She would threaten to send the evidence to his family, his job, anyone who mattered. Then he met me. He said falling for me wasn't part of the plan. He was supposed to stay single and miserable. That was what Ivy wanted. That was her way of punishing him. But he couldn't help it. He fell in love with me, and for the first time he thought maybe he could have a normal life, despite everything. He said when things got serious between us, Ivy started demanding more. She wanted to see him. She wanted him to prove he still loved her. She said if he didn't do what she wanted, she would send everything to me, to my parents, to everyone. He said he felt trapped. He said he tried to end it with her multiple times, but every time he did, she would escalate her threats. I asked him why he didn't just tell me the truth. Why he didn't come to me and explain what was happening and let me decide if I wanted to stay with him knowing about his past. He said he was scared. That what he did was bad enough that he couldn't risk me knowing. That he would rather live a double life than lose me completely. I asked him about the night of the engagement party. I asked him why he said what he said if he didn't mean it. Why he told everyone he still loved her. Why he left with her. He said Ivy had texted him that morning. She said if he didn't publicly choose her at the party, she would send everything to every single guest. She said she had gotten the guest list somehow, had found contact information for people, had everything ready to go. He said he panicked. He said when she showed up and put him on the spot, his brain just shut down, and he said whatever he thought would make her stop. Then I asked the question that had been burning in my mind since this all started. Was the baby his? He said he didn't know. He said they had slept together, yes, but he had always been careful, and he wasn't sure the timing added up. He said Ivy had refused to do a paternity test, and that made him suspicious. He said he had asked her multiple times and she kept deflecting. I didn't know what to do with any of this information. I still don't. Lauren thinks he's lying about all of it. She thinks the blackmail story is just another excuse, another way of avoiding accountability. She says even if there is something Ivy has on him, that doesn't explain why he couldn't have been honest with me from the beginning. She says a man who really loved me would have found a way. My mom says it doesn't matter whether the story is true or not. She says the outcome is the same. He cheated. He lied. He humiliated me. Whatever reasons he had don't change what he did. My dad hasn't said much. He's still furious. Every time Emmett's name comes up, he leaves the room. I think he's trying to protect me from seeing how angry he really is. I keep going over everything Emmett told me, trying to find holes in his story. And there are holes. Plenty of them. Like, how did Ivy get the guest list for our engagement party? Why would blackmail make him say he loved her in front of everyone when he could have just said he needed to handle something privately? Why did he get in the car with her and drive away if he was supposedly trying to resist her control? None of it adds up completely. But none of it can be easily disproved either. And here's the thing that's really messing with my head. 2 nights ago, I got a message request on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. No profile picture, no posts, created recently. The message just said, I know what he did. If you want to know too, meet me. There was an address, a cafe downtown, a time, tomorrow at noon. I haven't responded. I don't know if I should. It could be anyone. It could be Ivy trying to mess with me more. It could be one of Emmett's friends trying to set up some kind of intervention. It could be a complete stranger who has nothing to do with any of this. But what if it's someone who actually has answers? What if it's someone who knows what Ivy has on Emmett? What if meeting this person could finally help me understand what the hell has been happening in my life for the last 3 years? Lauren says absolutely not. She says this is how people end up in dangerous situations. She says I need to block the account and move on. My mom agrees. She says I already have all the information I need. Emmett betrayed me. That's the only fact that matters. But I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop wondering what's really going on. And I can't shake this feeling that there's more to this story than anyone is telling me. But how am I supposed to move forward when I don't even understand what I'm moving forward from? I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I have until tomorrow at noon to decide. I'll update again when I figure out my next move, or when everything falls apart even more, whichever comes first. Final update. I went to the cafe. I know. Everyone told me not to. Lauren practically begged me. My mom said I was asking for trouble, but I couldn't not go. I had spent 2 weeks drowning in half-truths and manipulations, and I needed something real. So I went. Lauren insisted on coming. She sat at a table across the room pretending to work on her laptop while I waited near the window. I ordered a coffee I didn't drink and watched the door. Nobody came. 45 minutes of nothing. Whoever sent that message either chickened out or was messing with me from the beginning. Lauren drove me home and I spent the rest of the day feeling stupid. But here's the thing. While I was sitting in that cafe waiting for a ghost, Ivy was at my apartment. My neighbor Bethany texted me around 1 asking if everything was okay. She said there was a woman standing outside my door who had been there for almost an hour. I knew immediately who it was. By the time we got there, Ivy was gone, but she had left an envelope taped to my door with my name on it. Inside was a letter, 3 pages, handwritten. She said she never meant for things to go this far. She said when she showed up at the engagement party, she thought Emmett would choose her, and they would leave together, and I would just be a footnote. She didn't expect his family to turn on him. She didn't expect the aftermath. She said the blackmail story was partly true, but mostly exaggerated. Yes, she had information about something he did. Yes, she had used it. But he wasn't some helpless victim. He wanted to be with her. He came back willingly every single time. The threats were just an excuse he used to justify his choices. She said the baby was definitely his. She had done a paternity test and had the results. Emmett had seen them weeks ago. His whole act of uncertainty was another lie. And then she said Emmett had proposed to her too, 2 years ago. Before he proposed to me, she said he gave her a ring and she said no because she wasn't ready. That's when he started dating me. Not because their relationship ended, but because she rejected him and he wanted to make her jealous. He told her I was just a placeholder. He said he would drop me the second she changed her mind. She included a photo. Emmett on one knee, a ring box open, her standing there with her hands over her mouth, dated 2 years before our engagement. I stared at that photo until my vision blurred. Lauren kept saying it could be photoshopped. Ivy was clearly unstable and couldn't be trusted, but something about it felt real. The setting, his clothes, the way he was looking up at her. I needed to confront Emmett. I texted him that night, told him I had the letter, told him I had seen the photo, told him if he didn't meet me and tell me the actual truth, I would send everything to his parents and everyone else who still believed his victim's story. He showed up at the park the next afternoon. Same bench, same haunted look. I started by asking about the proposal. He tried to deny it, said Ivy was lying, said she had fabricated the photo. I told him to stop. I told him the photo was clearly real and if he kept lying, I was walking away forever. One chance. This was it. He admitted he had proposed to Ivy, admitted it was before me, admitted that when she said no, he was devastated and started dating to move on. He said he met me during that period and fell for me, but part of him had always wondered what would have happened if Ivy had said yes. I asked if I was really just a placeholder. He said his feelings for me were real, but he also said he couldn't promise that part of him hadn't been waiting for Ivy. He said he had loved us both in different ways, and he knew that made him terrible, but it was the truth. I asked about the baby, about the paternity results. He admitted he had seen them. The baby was his. He had been lying about being uncertain because uncertainty made him look less guilty than knowingly getting his ex pregnant while engaged to me. Then his phone started ringing. He glanced at the screen and his face changed completely. He answered and I could hear yelling through the speaker. A woman's voice. Ivy's voice. Screaming that she knew he was with me, that her sister had seen us, that he had promised her he would never speak to me again. Emmett was trying to calm her down, saying it wasn't what she thought, saying he was just trying to get closure so they could move forward. He actually said that. Move forward. Like he and Ivy were the real couple and I was just loose ends to tie up. I grabbed the phone out of his hand. Ivy went silent for a second when she heard my voice. Then she started screaming at me, calling me desperate, saying I couldn't take a hint, saying Emmett had chosen her and I needed to accept it and move on with my pathetic life. I told her I wasn't the one who showed up at someone else's engagement party like a psycho. I told her I wasn't the one who got pregnant to trap a man who clearly couldn't commit to anyone. I told her she had won nothing. She had won a liar and a coward. And in a few months she would be raising a baby with someone who would cheat on her the same way he cheated on me. She told me I was just jealous, that Emmett had never loved me, that everything we had was fake and deep down I knew it. I told her to ask him about the ring, ask him if the ring he gave her looked similar to the one he gave me, ask him if he recycled his proposal speech too or if he came up with something original the second time around. She went quiet. Emmett was trying to grab the phone back but I stepped away from him. I told Ivy that her perfect man had proposed to me with probably the exact same words he used on her, that she wasn't special, that I wasn't special, that we were both just options he was keeping warm until he figured out what he actually wanted. Ivy hung up. Emmett was furious. He said I had just made everything worse. He said Ivy was already unstable and now I had set her off and who knows what she would do. He said I was being vindictive and cruel and this wasn't like me. I laughed. I told him he didn't know what I was like. He had spent 3 years lying to my face so clearly he didn't know me at all. And I told him I didn't care what Ivy did. I didn't care if she burned his life to the ground. I didn't care if she told everyone whatever secret he was so desperate to protect. He had already destroyed everything that mattered to me, so whatever happened to him next was not my problem. He tried to grab my arm, tried to make me listen. He said we needed to talk about this calmly, that I was being emotional, that I wasn't thinking clearly. I pulled away and told him if he touched me again I would scream and every person in this park would see him for exactly what he was. He backed off. I told him this was the last time. I said I never wanted to see his face again. If he contacted me, if his family contacted me, if anyone connected to him tried to reach out, I would go to Ivy myself and tell her every single thing he had said about her. Every excuse. Every time he called her manipulative or unstable or toxic. Every lie he told to make himself look like her victim. His face went white. I told him to have a nice life with the woman he chose. I told him to enjoy explaining to his kids someday why daddy destroyed multiple lives because he couldn't keep it in his pants. I told him I hoped the secret Ivy had on him was worth everything he lost. Then I walked away. But that wasn't the end. 3 days later, Emmett's mom Wilma showed up at my parents' house again. This time she didn't come alone. Emmett was with her. My dad answered the door and immediately tried to close it, but Wilma stuck her foot in the gap and started talking fast. She said there had been a development. She said Ivy had gone to Emmett's workplace and caused a scene. She said Ivy had told Emmett's coworkers about the affair and the pregnancy and the engagement party. She said Emmett might lose his job and his reputation was destroyed and they needed my help. My help. I came to the door because I could hear the commotion from the kitchen. My mom was right behind me. My dad was blocking the entrance with his whole body. Emmett started talking over his mother, saying Ivy had gone nuclear, saying she was telling everyone everything, saying the secret she had been holding over him was out now and his life was falling apart. My mom asked why exactly this was our problem. Wilma said because I had provoked Ivy, because my phone call with her had set her off, because if I had just left things alone, none of this would be happening. I could not believe what I was hearing. I told Wilma her son had cheated on me for our entire relationship. Her son had humiliated me in front of 75 people. Her son had lied about everything, including proposing to another woman before me, and now she was standing on my parents' porch saying this was my fault. Emmett tried to interrupt. He said he wasn't blaming me, he just needed me to talk to Ivy to calm her down, because apparently Ivy thought I was some kind of threat, and if I could just tell her I was out of the picture completely, maybe she would stop trying to destroy him. I asked him why Ivy would listen to anything I said. He said because Ivy was jealous of me, because even though she had won, she was convinced Emmett still had feelings for me, because apparently during their fights over the past few weeks, he had said things about me that made Ivy insecure. He had compared them. He had told Ivy she wasn't as kind as me, wasn't as easy to be around, wasn't as loving. So even while choosing her, he was using me as a weapon against her. My dad told them to leave. He said his daughter had been through enough. He said if they didn't get off his property in the next 30 seconds, he was calling the police. Emmett tried one more time. He looked right at me and said he was sorry. He said he knew he had ruined everything. He said he had loved me, really loved me, and losing me was the worst thing that had ever happened to him. I told him no. Losing me wasn't the worst thing. The worst thing was that he never had me. Not really. Because you can't have someone when you're lying to them every single day. I said the person he thought he loved didn't exist because I would never have been with him if I knew the truth. So whatever feelings he had were for a relationship that was built on nothing. Then I closed the door. That was a week ago. Emmett's life has apparently continued to implode. His sister Amanda texted Lauren because she knew I had blocked everyone. She said Emmett was put on leave from work pending some kind of internal review. She said Ivy had been posting things on social media that were getting shared around. She said their parents were fighting constantly about whether to support Emmett or cut him off. She said Ivy was also threatening to keep the baby from Emmett entirely, to put a different name on the birth certificate, to raise the child without him. Apparently they had gotten into a massive fight where Ivy said if Emmett couldn't commit to her completely, she would make sure he never saw his kid. It's not my problem anymore. My dad said something the other night that stuck with me. He said some people go through life collecting options instead of making choices. He said Emmett was never going to be happy with Ivy or with me or with anyone because he would always be wondering what else was out there. He said I dodged something worse than a bullet. I dodged a lifetime of being someone's backup plan. To everyone who followed this mess, thank you. And if Ivy ever reads this, which honestly she might since she seems like the type to search for her own name online, I want her to know something. You didn't win. You got a man who compares you to his ex-fiancé during fights. A man who proposed to someone else into your pregnancy. A man who lies as easily as breathing. You two deserve each other.